Okay, let's get some more analysis on this. Alison Miner is the Director for Middle East Integration at the Atlantic Council, and she joins us from Washington. Thank you very much for speaking with us. Trump has said, quote, the war is very complete, and that he's considering taking over the Strait of Hormuz. How significant would that be?
Thanks so much for having me, Ian. So Trump's comments it's not quite clear what he means by taking over the strait. His comments today about the war concluding soon seem more to be about messaging optimism to global markets, as we've seen oil prices catapult to over $100 a barrel. So the offers of things like political risk insurance themselves come with a cost. And so the calculus that shippers will be making is whether or not it's worth taking the risk trying to traverse the strait under these conditions.
And so, based on what you know and what you've heard the president say, how safe is the Strait of Hormuz right now?
I mean, we're still seeing active Iranian attacks. We have seen a decrease in the number of missiles and drones, but today alone we've seen a dozen missiles, a dozen drones hitting targeted towards the UAE. So the situation remains extremely threatening. We saw during the Gaza war, the Houthis' Red Sea campaign effectively shut down the Red Sea and the Suez Canal route because shippers were not willing to accept the risk of essentially being a ship being sunk and God forbid, a tanker being sunk and having that additional environmental catastrophe. And so it's just very difficult to accept the level of risk that this environment creates in this moment.
So for people who are concerned about the economic impact of this Middle East war, the Strait of Hormuz is obviously a focus of their attention, really all around the world. What's the focus of your attention?
My focus is on the continued U.S. messaging of its objectives. We saw on March 3rd, the U.S. announced that they were seeking to take out Iran's Navy, take out its entire missile arsenal and industrial base, to prevent Iran from ever attaining a nuclear weapon, and to stop Iran's proxies from destabilizing the region. These are very difficult objectives to achieve with an air campaign alone. We've seen progress on the Navy, but taking out the entire missile industrial base will be difficult, and even more difficult will be preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And addressing the proxy issue suggests heavy operations, not just in Lebanon, where we have seen Israeli operations, but also in Yemen, where the Houthis still present a potential threat. So unless the U.S. walks back those objectives, I think this campaign is going to continue for some time. And we saw that in Trump's press conference today, although he was trying to message that things would wrap up soon, he also would not commit to the idea that things would wrap up this week.
As a journalist in Canada, as I watch this from afar, I'm a little surprised and honestly a little bit confused at the change in messaging among senior leaders in the United States, but even from the president himself. At one moment talking about regime change, at another moment talking about eradicating Iran's opportunity to create nuclear weapons. What do you make of the changing message? Is it because the Americans or the White House doesn't want to truly say what the reason is behind it? Or do you think that the goals of this are as muddy for the White House as it appears in their public messaging?
We can't get inside President Trump's head to say exactly what's at play here, and he is ultimately the decision maker around this campaign. But it does seem that a degree was too much optimism about their ability to have the kind of impact that the U.S. had in Venezuela, where you took out a single leader and put in place someone who was willing to at least say that they would abide by U.S. objectives in the country. And that's simply not the case in Iran. And so I think this is the Trump administration attempting to fit its objectives to the situation that we're seeing on the ground.
Alison Miner, Director for Middle East Integration at the Atlantic Council, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.